I want to thank everyone for being here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jessica Leichtweisz. I'm the CEO of Hope Education Services, and I've been working with kids with autism for 12 years. I realized a few years ago there was a big disconnect between the way that autistic adults perceive their autism and the way that parents and professionals often perceive autism. And so this is a panel we put together to come and where parents and professionals can come and ask questions directly to autistic adults. So, you know, there's only so much I can teach you as a professional. I can teach you how to work with your child to get them to talk. I can teach you how to have strategies to help them with language and behavior and meet their sensory needs, but I can't explain what autism feels like. So that's why our panel's here. So I just want to thank everyone for coming. If you tune in every week, we do have Rachel and Monica are both unable to make it tonight, but we wish them well, and we have 5 amazing guests on here today, so we are so excited for that. So I want to thank everyone for coming back. I see Jessica and Lisa, some familiar faces. I love the fact that we're becoming a community and it feels like family. So if anyone wants to unmute or chat in a question, you can do so now, and our panelists will answer it. Lisa has her hand up. So Lisa, do you have a question you want to ask?
I do. Hi, everyone. Okay, so my question is about social skills. So what, in your opinion, your experience, what has kind of been the best way to explain social skills to a young child? My son's 4.5. I can tell that at times he really wants to connect and be social with me or with other people, but I can tell there's a lot of anxiety around it, like he doesn't quite understand how to initiate or how to interact with someone. So any advice you have or any tips or anything that you've seen or experienced would be very helpful.
That's a fantastic question. Thank you, Lisa, for asking that. If you guys don't know who Lisa is, she's also a popular mommy blogger. She's the blogger of Mama AF, and she talks about her son who has autism. He pops in every once in a while. We'd love to see him on our calls. Michele, would you like to start off with, Michele always winds up, she's so organized and she's always on time. So she's always the first one to pop on, which means she's always the first one I see. So I'm scared, Michele, would you please answer that question to start off?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica and Lisa. Yeah, I could tell from both sides. So like personally with me with social skills, that was the same thing with me, just like with your son in my early years. Like I didn't know how to, like, anything naturally did not come from me when it came for social skills. It was just like I knew myself, I wanted to like say hi to someone or like want to like talk to people, but I didn't know how to. So I was always like just sitting back in my seat and stuff, and I wouldn't know what to do. So later on, like in my middle school years, I was actually in a social skills program and stuff, and like we actually like gone over with like experiences with classmates, like having a shame, like saying like, hello, my name is Michele, for example, and like and I would just like apply that to like any of people around me once I was in, after each lesson like that I learned with that from the program, I would do that in other places. So like actually getting taught that for me helped me and stuff, like explaining it like that, like in simple terms, you know, like to your son, just, you know. And as a paraprofessional, you know, same thing, like I would have to, like, with a child, like to say like hello and stuff, like, or to a child that's using a communication device and stuff, like I would have them say like hi, and they would have a picture of their classmate to be like, hi, Mia, for example, or something like that. Or everything for me was just pretty much taught. It didn't come naturally for me. So like and the same to a lot of people that are living with autism, like it doesn't come naturally. You have to like explain it and stuff in simple terms like that. like like saying hello and like starting off like that, and just from there, like you could ask, like they could ask like, what's your favorite toy, because I know a lot of kids love to play with toys and stuff. So like he could ask something like that, like what's your favorite toy, or like, you know. So that would be pretty much my answer about that.
Yeah, and Michelle, that's something that we do a lot when we're doing ABA. We do that very scripted approach where we're teaching children almost to memorize certain scripts. And we do that because children with autism often don't have the benefit. You say things come naturally. How we talk about that is that they don't always learn from their natural environment. So kids normally just learn from interacting with others and observing things. And kids with autism often benefit from being taught things very directly. One of the criticisms of ABA and one of the criticisms of professionals is that when you're teaching things in that very discrete, we like to call it discrete approach, where you're just breaking it down, you're making it very simple, you're having a child memorize it. One of the arguments is that the language becomes scripted and robotic and it's not natural and it's awkward and clunky. And I have found that that may be true initially, but that very quickly isn't true, and that it is probably the most effective and fast way to get to the point where a child can have a natural conversation, because you have to start off with that memorized part, and it's not like you're going to stay there. Yeah. Was that your experience? Has having gone through that approach, you can do a better job of answering a parent's question? Is in that question, I always get it all the time, is that ABA approach going to lead to robotic language? It obviously didn't for you. So what was your experience?
So my experience with that is that, like, I think it's just eventually for me, I picked up what was going on with other people, like what they were talking about, because I was actually like paying attention. And like individuals with autism do pay attention. I think that that's another misconception I want to say about that, because people think that we don't pay attention, but we really do. And it's just that, like, it takes more time to process like what's going on and stuff. But like, yeah, in the beginning, initially, I needed something like that. So I really thank my speech teacher from my middle school years with having a social skills program, because initially I needed that, because I didn't know at all how to like interact with like people in the way, like so like in the beginning, yes, I needed some help in terms of like how to initiate something like that. But then after, things became more natural to me as I was picking up what people were talking about in their conversations and stuff, and like finding my own interest too. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad that parents can see from you and not just hear from a professional. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, because it's very easy for me as a professional to say like, no, everything's going to be fine. Your kid's going to grow up and it's going to be wonderful and they're going to have conversations, and it's not going to stay this way. But sometimes, like, even as a professional, I benefit from seeing that proof that what I've been taught over these years actually does work. And really, when people grow up, it does work. People do get past that phase of, hi, how are you? Good, thanks. How are you? Good. What's your favorite toy? Superman. Great. My favorite toy is Cars. And then the child asks a new question, and the child didn't learn that, and it's like, conversation ends. And I've seen that, but you have to start there. So, and that's a scary place to be when you're, kind of like in that gap between not talking and then starting to talk, and then wanting to socialize and not knowing how to socialize, and getting to the point where you're comfortable socializing. There's a process and like a gap between those. And it's a very uncomfortable place, but you do get past it and you do get out of it. So thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. So Kevin, you are next on my list. Kevin is Kevin today. Last week he was a double. He had a doppelganger. Jesse was many of the panelists were Jesse last week, but Kevin is Kevin again. So Kevin, welcome back. And if you could address that question, what helped you the most as a child to develop social skills? Or was that even something that you had, or was that an issue? And is it still an issue, or is it something that you no longer have to deal with?
Oh, I would say, again, thank you again for having us on, all on, Jessica. Yep. So, yeah, I pretty much had the similar kind of social skills training that Michele talked about, where we did a lot of, I like took speech which was like social skills as a class, and pretty much throughout my 12 years of school, through in elementary, middle school, and high school. And we did a lot of that, like kind of teaching, like kind of the, like, sort of the unwritten rules of social behavior of those of us who have autism sometimes have a harder time picking up on, and as well as like conversational skills. And we did a lot of what I felt helped with me was doing a lot of like role playing, social role playing, and where we'd do like go through that role play of having conversations and like various social scenarios we might come across, like if you're making a phone call to get information, or going into a store to buy something. All that did a lot of role playing and practice with. And when looking at kind of where I was socially back then to where I am now, I'd say it helped, and I've come a long ways. But do I still struggle with social skills today? I feel like yes, I still do to an extent, although I think it's not, I get the idea, it's not obvious that I really lack the social skills as much, because I think most people I talk to really wouldn't say I lack social skills, but it's more internalized for me, because I still to this day suffer from a great deal of social anxiety when it comes to doing certain things socially. Like the best example I can really give is, for example, I've never really had a serious girlfriend, because I never really have overcome the anxiety that comes with really approaching a girl and that I like, and telling, and kind of trying to tell her that I like her and asking her out on a date. Those are all things. That's the best example of like an important social skill that I don't feel I've really developed fully. And more so, I haven't overcome the anxiety to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, and it's hard. And I think that as we grow up, a lot of times, and especially for me, and one of the things that I'm open about is I was bullied as a child, and I still have social anxiety to this day. And even when I'm in business relationships, in the back of my mind, even when the person tells me I love you, and you're doing and it seems like a really great relationship, in the back of my mind there is always that question and anxiety. So Kevin, I'm sharing that because I don't want you to feel like you're completely alone in that. That's something that I think everyone struggles with. I'm sure it probably is a bigger degree for you, and I don't want to discount that. But, it's something I think that all humans can relate to, that feeling.
Yes, and yeah, identify, like, yeah, you have a lot of the same feelings I have. As somebody could really give me great feedback outwardly, but I also have that social paranoia, underneath that, do they really, mean what they're saying to me,
Yeah,
absolutely. I've always had that what I'll call social anxiety, social paranoia of like worried about what people are thinking of me, way more than I really should be.
Yeah, I totally understand. Do you feel like that, and I'm going to have kind of a two-part question here, if that's okay. My first kind of question is, do you feel like when you said, you were role playing, that it made it easier to approach other people? And when you did initially, were you rejected? And is that part of why you feel uncomfortable today?
No, not really. Truthfully, I never, like, overcoming, doing the role play actually did help me, with other things, mostly with, I'd say, like having conversation, like casual conversation with peers, and which I really don't have much problem with having like casual, normal small talk conversations. But what I'd say but yeah, the role play, even though we did do some of that role play with like, I did have a little bit of the dating role play too. It didn't really help me overcome my anxiety enough to go out and take the risk on my own,
Yeah, and that's a very interesting, it brings up a very interesting point, and it makes me wonder whether or not, as professionals and even as educators in school, we should be teaching dating more as a social skill. I know that I've gone on some dates lately that I think I wish that they would have gone through social skills training on like how to treat a woman on a date for sure. But so maybe that's something everyone should have. But all joking aside, maybe if any of the other panelists are willing to discuss that, I know it's a very private topic, but Jesse, Aidan, even if Michele, you want to jump back in, it's up to you. I'd love to hear your feedback. We can on whether or not you think professionals and educators, we should be teaching kids how to date and what that looks like and how to approach so whoever you're dating, whether it's a person of the same sex or a person of the opposite sex. Jesse, would you like to jump in and share a little bit about what helped you develop social skills, and then the second part about dating if you choose to?
What's the second part again?
Well, whether or not you think that as teachers and educators and professionals, we should be helping like young or teenagers, I guess it would be learning how to date, or young adults learning how to date.
Yes, definitely. I'd say that what helped with developing social skills is the inability to let go and move on, which is a common trait of people on the autism spectrum. And I don't know if the term is a double-edged sword, but I think that my weakness actually became a strength. I mean, a good friend is someone who can be trusted, and I like the fact that people can go out with me, and I know not to spread rumors. My supervisor, for example, goes out to lunch with me maybe twice a year on our respective birthdays, and we have one unsaid rule: what is said at TGI Fridays stays at TGI Fridays. And I have this expression, I'll take it to my grave. That's something I use when people tell me something personal, because quite frankly, I had a couple of very traumatic life experiences where I accidentally spilled the beans, and basically I felt the whole world was angry with me, and those experiences never go away. They just fester and keep me from doing it again and again. I call it adding to the rotting garden of regrets. And the thing about growing up is I never had those social skills lessons. I never learned how to interact with my peers. Every lesson was learned the hardest way possible. And I really like how you talked, Michele, about starting off with you asking about your favorite toy, your favorite color. Nobody likes spending a lot of time with someone who talks only entirely about themselves. And with you, Jessica, I think people are going to nitpick until the cows come home, but that's how you have to start out. You have to start out with those robotic phrases such as, my name is Justin, what's your name? And develop those scripts, and over time it's going to become more natural. And it's kind of like learning a new language. When you first learn a new language, a lot of times a good instructor will help you overcome the fear factor by just saying, these are some words and here are what they mean. Please memorize them. That's all you have to do now, is memorize these words while learning Italian. And then the person says, oh, wow, that's not such a big deal. I can memorize this. And then they feel more confident to go to the next level. To answer the other part of your question, people should definitely teach social skills training and how to date. I know that's going to cause quite a bit of controversy, but it's better than having to repair the damage that may be impossible to undo, especially in the late high school and college setting, because people with autism, they're often starting from scratch at age 21, and it's not considered to be cute at that age when somebody who has the mentality of an 11-year-old, romantic-wise, starts aggressively pursuing one of their classmates. At that point, it's considered to be criminal, but they do not know any better. We have to nip it in the bud and give people a fighting chance. The other reason why it's so critical is because we have to infuse a dose of tough love and common sense before a person can start fooling around on the internet. We have to say that this woman posing on a beach in a bikini who looks like she could be Heidi Klum's sister, that's probably not that person in the picture. It's a scam. It's called catfishing, and sever ties with this person. I guarantee that she's going to start asking you for money or your personal information within time. She's just grooming you. I've been a victim of catfishing twice in my life. The first time it was for 6 long months. The second time it was for a much briefer period of time because I was able to recognize the signs pretty quickly because I went through it already. And I've had to try to intervene with some of my peers who are victims of catfishing. I have to just try to burst their bubble. Some people listen, others prefer to hold on to that delusion, and hopefully they'll learn it someday. And I want to say something to you, Kevin. I did not get my first girlfriend at age 32, and I guess maybe it was the universe's way of paying me back for a lifetime of rejection, because the woman was significantly younger and I man enough to say a lot more beautiful than myself. She looked like she could be a model, especially when she had cosmetic enhancement. I mean, people would one time a man in New York City came up to me and said, "She's sexy, buddy," and I felt like the king of the world. But I will admit there were still countless days in which the grass was not greener on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought, is this really what I wanted for over 30 years? It was not pretty. But I'd say that even though it was not always a pleasant experience, the learning experiences made up for any moments of suffering, and even the bad relationships that are eventually doomed are valuable in that sense. So my attitude, Kevin, when pursuing ladies, is you understand that the absolute worst thing that can happen is that a lady will say, "God, you're really creepy. Get away from me. You come on too strong." And usually it's not your fault. And the worst thing that will happen after that is somebody who's kind of a jerk will never talk to you again. Wow, real big deal.
Yeah, that's like a great way to look at it. And it's funny, Jesse, because I asked myself the same question. I was on a date last week and I'm 34. I just turned 34 and I'm still struggling with actually saying that out loud. But and I was on a date and it was in a beautiful, we went outdoor dining. It was right on the water on the Hudson. And I was asking myself that same question as he was sitting there and eating his meal and the conversation was not going anywhere. I was like, did I really want this? I mean, because honestly, I think I would have enjoyed my meal a lot better if I was eating it by myself, a lot more. So you're right, Jesse, the grass is sometimes not always greener. But in the same sense, I think that everyone's bringing up valid points. These are things that we may not be addressing as professionals. And, I work with teenagers that are for lack of better terms, high functioning, and I will teach them a little bit about dating and social skills and certain things, but I never thought to teach them about the idea, I'm teaching them to use Instagram and that someone might pretend not be who they're pretending to be and what to look for in those signs. So those are great and valid points. I know I want to thank you for bringing them up, Jesse, because I'm going to take them and I'm going to use them, and I hope other people who are on the call, especially professionals that are listening to this in the recording mode, because we find most people are listening to this in recording mode, and welcome, and we love you and we're grateful for you, even if you're listening to this in the recording. I hope you do take that as well and start to do those things as well.
And the last thing I want to say is that I was the exact opposite of you, Kevin, in the sense that I was extremely determined and put myself out there, and it permanently damaged my reputation in college. I guess maybe I asked out 60% of the female students. It seemed like a really good idea at the time. And at that moment, I wish I had done a better job advocating for myself and I may be sending a letter to every student on campus saying, look, I'm suffering quite dearly. What can we do to resolve this? I don't want to creep people out, but I also don't want to be so afraid of bothering people that nothing ever happens for me romantically for the rest of my days. So, maybe we can make a compromise. Like I can ask out 5 girls a month, and then you can give me a break and show mercy. But I don't know how well that would have worked.
Well, I think that you guys are bringing up valid points that we can take and share as professionals, and I'm definitely learning from you. And I always appreciate, Jesse, your authenticity and also your sense of humor. And you and I both have a little bit of that same dry, sarcastic sense of humor, so I really do appreciate that. I think I've already offended 2 people today with my sense of humor. So, but I love that in this community we can all be ourselves. Very good. Thank you so much, Aidan. Would you like to weigh in on this topic? And I know you shared a little bit last week about your romantic interests. So I know this is a topic that you're actually kind of passionate about. So I know we started off as like social skills, and now we've kind of migrated into a new topic. But
Right. Well, I first want to really just answer Lisa's question, because I don't think I had the opportunity to do so yet. First of all, I have to say, Lisa, your son is absolutely adorable, and it's always great when he's in the call. And to really answer your question about kind of the social skills climate, I think it really, first of all, you really have to, I think, gauge as to where your child is. So a lot of the times, depending on even at a young age, you can kind of, at least from let's say from a physician standpoint, and even as a mother, you can kind of get the sense of kind of where your child is at. So in other words, some kids on the spectrum might not make certain noises or vowels, like when they're babies, or like cooing or anything like that. So at a young age, you kind of start to get a sense as to where they're at. And over time, you learn more and more and more as to what impact the autism has on the particular child. So for example, maybe when you're 4 or 5 years old, is the child able to speak some words or even some sentences, or not at all? So once you start kind of, I think, looking into where your son is at, then from there you can gauge as to whether or not what type of social skills would be beneficial to look into. So for example, I think that it's very, very, very important, especially no matter if you could have one of the least impacting diagnoses of autism, but I think it's really important that anyone diagnosed with autism receive at a very young age. And if you said that your son was diagnosed at a young age, I think it's a really helpful thing for him to be within a social group. So I received this when I was younger, and I think that it helped me in some ways. And the ways that in which it helped me was at a young age by starting to really drill down on, the give and take during a conversation, what's chewing with your mouth closed, some of the basic, etiquette, social skills, and everything like that. If you drill those kind of things down and really kind of allow your child to open their mind and learn some more of those types of skills, that will increase the opportunity for them to learn in the future about more of the, making plans, going on a date, let's say, doing more of that abstract stuff. So, I think that a lot of times with kids on the spectrum, and this was me in particular, a majority of the really early childhood was spent particularly on, hi, how are you? That very minute, basic level of conversation. And then when you get a little bit older, things start to ramp up a little bit. So I would recommend, and Lisa, I know you said that I think that you do have some in-home support, or your child does receive some therapeutic services. I would recommend having a speech pathologist. They work on social pragmatics, articulation, that type of thing. Having your child really interact with the speech pathologist, interacting with the ABA, but also, and this is something that not everybody can handle, and again, this is you making a judgment call based on, if your child would be able to handle it, if he's too young, if he's too old, what would be the best thing. Take him to a social skills group. So that's what I did when I was younger. So I was I think I was like 7 or 8 years old or something, and I was with like 4 other 7 or 8-year-olds. And, we had the person lead kind of the group, and we all kind of learned together as a team as to, what it means to be in relationships. So there's a lot of opportunities, and you'll find that out as, your son gets older. But I think the most important thing for him right now, at least, is to ensure that the development that you're attempting to meet the developmental needs of your child. So, the basic, hi, how are you? The conversational, saying some words and everything. And if he's not at that point yet, that's okay. It's called, really working with your child's team to get into that point. And if he can't, then so be it. It's called, finding different things that he can and can't do. And that's what I think really autism is about, is that I think that a lot of the times you figure out what you can do and what you can't do. So for example, there's a ton of things that I believe I can do. And then there's a lot of things that I know that it would be either very, very hard for me to do, or I really can't do it all. So it's really kind of finding that balance. So there's a lot of resources out there. And as always, if you ever need anyone to talk to about that, I'm always here, and I'm sure that the rest of the group is. And to answer the second part of the question, my goal, I think, especially in every weekly panel that we do, is for me to, I think, to reveal myself a little bit more personally, because that's something that I've been working on. I'm a very private person in a lot of ways, and I'm someone that is really, I have a hard time with, talking about myself and going into it. But I will say, I guess on the romantic or the dating level, one from a professional standpoint, as well as somebody that just, was a student and is young, I think it's very great that, first of all, I think social skills shouldn't be just taught to special education kids. I really think that it should be completely mainstream because, first of all, and I've always said this, I work at a school where it's a special needs school, and they have what's called a DI room, a debriefing intervention. So if a kid, is out of control and in class and everything like that, they have to, be removed for, 30 minutes or so. And, once, the cycle has been broken, they can come back in or whatever. I think having more of the things that are done for special needs kids mainstreamed can be very helpful, because I really don't see that to be super differentiating. I see that to be human needs. So what I mean by that is, of course, it's going to be harder, I think, for a lot of kids that are on the spectrum or who have special needs. It's going to be harder for them to kind of know, what is dating? What does it mean to be in a relationship with someone? What are ways to communicate? But believe it or not, it's also really hard for kids that don't have unique needs. And so I think really making it normal and really having an educator present these concepts in a way that doesn't feel weird or judgmental or whatever negative emotion that could be associated with it. I think that having that mainstreamed is important. And I also said this, I'm a very big proponent on this. The example I gave on the DI where the kid has to sometimes leave the room, I think that should be incorporated to really mainstream completely. And I'll tell you why. I mean, you see some kids, let's say in high school, I don't know if the other panelists have ever experienced this, but at least at the high school that I went to, I had some really unfortunate incidents where kids were really, doing some really nasty things, calling some people some really bad, racially charged names, homophobic names, a lot of really bad things. And a lot of those incidents have really occurred, in my, space. I think getting the kid out of there and breaking that cycle for the kid that doesn't have the special needs, I think that's just important, because I think we all as a society need to really work together on tolerance and building character. I want to see more character development within and without the schools. And I think really, I guess on the romantic level, I talked a little bit about the social level. I guess on the romantic level, I guess I'll talk a little bit about myself now. So, making some progress on that end, I suppose. But I was in a relationship with 2 years. I'm gay, and I had a boyfriend for 2 years, and I absolutely fell in love with him. He fell in love with me, and it was beautiful. He lived all the way up in New York. He lived in Mahopac. I live in Somerset County of New Jersey, so very far away. But we would always take the train. He would sleep over at my house. We had a really great thing going on, and unfortunately, what happens is that he is also has some disabilities. He has some. He's not autistic at all. He just has very significant depression, as well as I do, and unfortunately, it became quite untenable, and he wasn't really able to take care of himself, and he just really needed to focus on himself. And the truth of the matter is that was very hard for me to wrap around for a number of reasons. One being is that I would do anything to take away the pain that he feels and add his depression onto my depression. Because when you love someone, I think you'll do pretty much anything. And I really loved him, and honestly, I really still do. Whoops, that should not be happening right now. Okay, I apologize. I really loved him, and I still do, and if you were to ask me in a few years, oh my goodness, she's not going to stop. Oh my God, I apologize.
No worries. That happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
Mercury's in retrograde, so technology is not even working properly. So we'll just.
It goes on and on and on. I'm going to turn my phone off.
Whenever Mercury's in retrograde, anything that happens like this, we just blame it on Mercury.
That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But, as I was saying, and I don't want to go on too much because I feel like I've been talking on and on and on. But, if you were to ask me in a few years or whatever, I probably would say yes if he asked, hey, do you want to take it slow? And the reason why is because I have very low self-esteem, and I've been made fun of a lot. And I think that, I like Jessica said, and I think some of the other panelists may have had this, I'm not sure though, but I was bullied a lot. And, one thing that I was bullied for was, there was a lot of precipitating factors that I definitely was bullied about, but one thing was my appearance. And, it gets really tiring. I have a very hard time making friends, and it gets very, very, very tiring feeling alone. It gets very exhausting feeling lonely and feeling as though you're in this one gigantic loop. Oh, God.
Really popular today.
Swear to God.
Well, these are signs, Aidan, that your business is really successful. These are actually Aidan's business lines running. And
I'm at my office right now, yeah.
He has low self-esteem, but let's talk about the fact that he's 18 years old and has his own office and runs a business that's actually very financially successful, more than most of my friends in their 30s and 40s and making businesses. So as your phone's ringing and you're getting frustrated, we're just applauding your success.
Thank you. I'm just getting frustrated because I hate being distracted and everything, and it puts me off. But thank you though. But that's what's hard for me. There's the price to pay with that. So it's really hard for me to make friends and be in a relationship with people. And a lot of my days consist of me being, and I love my job. I absolutely love it. It's the one thing that really provides a lot of happiness for me, and it really does help with my depression, but there's a price to pay. And the price to pay is that sometimes, I could be more socially available, but I'm working all the time. And I think part of me also uses it as a way to avoid the social interaction, because I've been rejected so many times. I've been, given the runaround by so many people where they say, yeah, let's hang out. And part of me has had the difficulty of kind of setting up the plans to begin with. But another part of it has just been, being kind of strung along. And then, once the day of the, hangout happens, you get the whole, or not, sometimes not even answered. So it gets really tiring, not only on the friendship level, but because I was bullied for my appearance, and I have tried putting myself out there, I guess, finding another guy, it gets really tiring always hearing the same no, 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 or the same type of response that suggests significantly that they're not interested in a friendship and romantic level. So for me, my strategy has been, I'm not going to give up. And it's exhausting. It's very exhausting. I'm tired from it. And I feel like I fight it every single day. But I feel as though, with the therapeutic support that I receive, with, asking friends, family, and really just kind of learning more about myself, I'm starting to become a little bit more social skill savvy, if that makes sense. That was some good alliteration right there. And I'm really trying to get to the point where instead of hearing the no's all the time, I started to hear the yeses. And that's my goal. So that was just a little personal anecdote that I wanted to give. And I think, let me see if there's a question. I'm looking at the chat right now. Yeah, so I absolutely agree with the concept of social emotional learning. And the way to get it, let's say if you were to get it into your local district, the way to do that, and this is something that I'm actually an expert with, and I don't like saying the word expert because there's so many things I don't know, but there's like maybe 4 things that I know about, and one of them is, implementation of programming. And the best way to do that, and this goes, I think, to anyone watching this, and this is a little bit of a segue, and I promise I'll shut up after this. I just am so passionate about these types of questions. But the way to, let's say, get about a new program or a new idea is, first what you do is you go to a Board of Education meeting, or you have a prior relationship. You start talking, getting to know who they are, and then what you do is you're always, I don't know what state you're in, but I'm sure it has similar rules. But in New Jersey, there's 2 opportunities to speak at a Board of Education meeting. The first one is about agenda items only. The second one is about anything that you want. So speaking about those issues, and then not just saying what you want, but offering yourself as a resource, saying, could I reach out? Perhaps like having a goal in mind, not just saying empty, words about things that you want and everything like that. That's helpful, and that gets change done. And I could give you numerous examples in which I've done that and change has derived from it. So again, I'd be more than happy to help with that. The curriculum team probably from the board would be working on the social and emotional learning, but it's hard. Some schools are more, like I said, all schools are different. So some schools are more into it, others not so much, but I wish you luck, and good luck with your son. So yeah, that's all I got.
Well, Aidan, I just want to thank you for being, again, so generous with sharing who you are. And, we're almost always our own worst critic. And I wish that you could see yourself the way all of us here see you in this community that we've built. Because I think you're just truly amazing and really a very special person. And I tell you all the time.
But I'm going to get there some point. And that's my goal. I don't feel that. I think that it's really, a lot of lies that people tell me and everything because of the past. But I'm trying to open my mind to getting to that point where I start to feel that way. And I think that that's what a lot of people feel. And I'm trying. And maybe one day I'll get there. I'm confident. So, but thank you for saying that. That does, I don't believe it, but it touches my heart that somebody would think it. I don't necessarily believe it, but I feel good hearing it. So thank you again for saying.
Aidan, and I share too that I can really understand how you feel. And I've shared with you, like, I've gone through similar situations where I was bullied for my appearance as a child. And even though people tell me I'm attractive as a woman, sometimes I don't find myself attractive. And I bring this up because I don't want you to feel like you're damaged or that there's something, that this is like something wrong with you, that it's a struggle that only you're experiencing. It's hard. Anyone who experiences rejection is left with scars. And, I often have the same scars, and I think a lot of us do. And this is the healing and the conversations. And I think that this is why, like, looking at the scars you have, I think this is why we do need, like you said, and like Jesse said, and everyone said so eloquently, social skills training should be for everyone, not just for people that are, like, kind of quote unquote in the disabled population. I mean, if everyone was taught social skills, I think less adults would have scars from growing up that way. And I think it's really important. And I think that it's, the point of this panel is to change. It is to change how professionals approach things. It's to change how parents approach things. I hope that if a parent's watching this and their child is bullying another child, that they put an end to that they teach their child that's not an acceptable way to treat people. I hope that a teacher who ignores it in a classroom because they've just given up or they don't care, sees what the consequences are, and then just stops it from happening. So, you know, that's the whole purpose of what this is. And, you know, I think that this is a good place to end this evening and to sit and think about.
Wait, Jessica, can
Yeah,
I?
you want to bring something up, Michelle? Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I didn't get to share the second part of that as well. Like,
Oh, you're right. We forgot to come back to you. I apologize. Go ahead.
So it's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And I completely understand that. Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad that I waited till everybody else was with theirs, because giving it from the perspective of a woman's side, it's really different in a way. And like, yeah, I've gone through experiences in high school. It started like my sophomore year and stuff, and my first boyfriend at that time, like, it was the longest one. It was 2 years and stuff, and later then he ghosted me. Yeah, that's when I started to learn, and actually through the help of some of my best friends, like I had help a lot from my best friends that gave me the cues that like that was pretty much it and stuff, and like just getting the support from like friends and family that got me through that. It was one of the worst like feelings for like, and that was like for a long time, and I didn't pick up the cues about that till I had one of my friends who actually they live down in Florida, and they live with Asperger's and stuff, and like they pretty much knew that was it. Like they told me like, you gotta like let go with this, because this is not like, this is something that is hurting you, and it's not good at all. So I had to learn to let that go and stuff, which I'm thankful today of my friend for that. And also like other experiences that I gone through, which they were kind of unfortunate in a way, but the latest relationship was with my friend that long distance. I'm gonna tell you right now, was interesting, but we're still friends today. He's still like an awesome friend to me. Like, I know like things didn't really work out, and Aidan, what you've gone through, it's pretty much what he's been going through as well with his, like, he also has depression. Like, he was diagnosed with it and stuff as well, and like he was going through a lot with that, and like just was struggling a lot for like a long time. And I saw that through him, like before he moved to Florida. He went to high school with me, so like I saw this, he was like struggling so much and stuff. Like, I didn't really know it till later on while I was in college and stuff, but anyway, yeah. So with his struggles and stuff, but even though we did try with long distance, but we're still best friends today. And there's a difference. What I've learned, there is a difference between with a good person and with a bad person, that I've had an experience where someone did try to use me, and it was not the greatest thing at all, where someone tries to use you because they feel lonely themselves in a way. That's how that was one of my relationships was like that. And it was definitely the worst feeling. It was like, I was definitely like really upset, but I later on learned not to take it so personally, because I learned that I am resilient. I've learned to get myself like back out there, and that's been one of my character traits for like a long time, is that I am able to get myself back out there and like keep doing what I'm doing and enjoy what I love to do and stuff. So and yeah, so like with my long distance with my best friend in Florida and stuff, like he was the only like person that I did go out with that actually like respected me. He didn't like say anything like mean, or like didn't go behind my back or anything. Like, there's a difference. So yeah, so that I'm still friends with him today and stuff, like despite of what he's gone through too and everything. And yeah, like just know, like, and this is to everyone, that you're not broken. Like, everyone is unique in their own ways, have similar interests and all and everything, and just just keep doing what you're doing. You got a great company that you do, and just that's what I wanted to share. I just like I get it, and this is from my perspective and stuff, like from my side of it. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry that you were taken advantage of and it didn't work out with your person, but I'm glad that you're friends with, and I really appreciate the advice that you gave towards me and to everyone else that were watching this or will be watching. So thank you.
Do you mind me asking, were these men on the autism, were they on the autism spectrum as well?
Okay, so in all my experiences, the first boyfriend was actually had ADHD. So he had another disability, but I kind of like, I'm like patient and stuff, and I'm open-minded and stuff like that. I wasn't picky or like that, or like high expectations, like not too much and stuff, because you should like the person for who they are and stuff. So like that relationship was really good, except like just towards the end of it, where like pretty much the other person didn't really tell what was going on and stuff. And then the second one was someone that didn't have anything. They're neurotypical. They were the one that took advantage of me and stuff. It was not easy and stuff. And the interesting part was that like all of these people I was friends with first. So it comes from like the friendships I made, and eventually like, it just grows and stuff, but sometimes it doesn't and things change, which I kind of learned this more through through natural experiences and from supportive friends and family to me. And this is why I do believe that they should be teaching this more in like social skills training, like to adolescents, adults, and stuff, that like, these are the things that sometimes are hidden that you don't really tell and stuff. So that's why I wanted to bring this out here. I usually don't share this kind of stuff, but I felt like now it's time, because it just, a lot of people I've learned now a lot of people have gone through the experiences and stuff, and you're like just not alone with that, And my latest one, he lives with Asperger's. So, and I've known him since high school. He was always there for me. Like, despite that, like he was struggling with depression, his whole family stuff that was going on. But despite that, like he was such a good person. He is a drummer for his church. That's how he gives back to the community through music, because he loves music. He absolutely loves music, and he always shares with me like any new songs and stuff from like bands that he likes and everything. And I hope that when he does watch this recording and stuff, that I'm contributing this to him in a way, because like he just like was always there for me. He helped me through one of my situations like that. We help each other. That's what friends do. And I think that that's what, things don't work out, they don't work out, and we're still best friends today. Like I still chat with him and stuff, like here and there. So but yeah, so I've been through so many different experiences, it's not even funny, but I just like I learned a lot from them. I did.
That's awesome, and thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that we did include you in that part of the conversation. And so and you're right, it is different always from a woman's perspective. So that's why we actually usually have 3 men, 3 women. Today, Michele is representing the women. So, I love the fact that this is turning into such a great community. I didn't expect that. Like when I talked about doing this with you guys, like it was supposed to be a one-time quick event to just get parents on, get their questions answered. And I feel like we're like developing our own reality TV show. So I feel like we're like this is like, it's like the community / reality TV show. I feel like we should start to like, I don't know, show up with our favorite beverage and maybe a pajama party one day, and like it's just like it's not a bad idea, right? It's just turning into a whole community. I just love what this has become. So it is not what I thought it would be, but I think it's much better than I could have expected. And thank you everyone who's just so honest and so authentic and sharing so much. And for Lisa and Jessica who come out every week, and everyone who watches the recordings, we really appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you again to everyone.